Welcome to the Pandemic Presents Prevenge of the Nerds. We are your one-stop podcast. Every week, we are going to give you all the things to level up your awesome. You can also level up your awesome by buying my kids' book, Leveling Up My Awesome, on Amazon right now, $7.99, or contact me for an autographed copy for just a little bit more. And the count starts.
Shameless plug number one.
Number one. For starters, we will give you our war report. That's right, the What's Awesome report for the week, with all the who's its and what's its. If it's awesome, you know we got to talk about it. Once you find out what's awesome, then we got to go into our prevenge part of the show and tell you the stories that could have led to your favorite movies, TV shows, and so much more. All right, to close the show, we are going to play a little pitch, fix, and or ditch. We'll look at some property that we talked about throughout the evening, and we'll pitch something to do with it, fix what needs to be fixed, and then maybe make it worse. Yes, we will poof it patent pending. I'm Bradley Butin, and this is my co-host,
Brian S. Dennis with an S stands for Madison. That's with two N's and a Y. And the Y is not where you think it is.
And she should absolutely be taking the Stan Lee cameos.
Absolutely. And, I remember we'll talk, I'm sure, more when we get to the war report. But talk about a one character who broke the internet, who broke fandom, going, why does she not have a spinoff? And Bradley, did you know that final scene, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little bit, but featuring Madison and Wong, was not scripted? That was all just off the top. It was extemporaneous between Benedict Wong and the actor that played Madison.
I like that a lot, man. Like, those two definitely need their own show.
Yes. And there's just too much. Again, we don't want to bury the lead, but there's just too much about that character to make you think she will be a one and done. So I cannot wait to see more of, again, Madison, and we're going to dive into all of it in our war report.
Yes, we will. Welcome to the Pandemic. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But first, Brian.
Sir.
Kaylee brought up a pretty good point to me the other day. So we may actually have to change the war report.
Really? All right.
Yeah, so here's her point. She's like, why do you call it the war report? Like, war report, like the what's awesome report.
Yes.
Right. So we're saying report twice, and I haven't been able to fix that out of my brain. So what do you think about that? Do we just go with it and that's just our shtick? Or, do we rebrand that? Or is it just war?
Maybe we can find a G and name it Guar or something. We can do that. The Great War, whatever. Yeah. Oh, the minute you started, I thought, you know what? It is redundant for the war report. But you know what? Here at the War Report, we bring you so much awesomeness. I think we do it so much. It is truthfully the War Report. Similar to Madison with two N's, we are the War Report with two R's.
That is right. We are the War Report.
There we are.
Because we're getting two reports.
Or are we how about this? We are the War Report Rapport.
Ooh.
Do you like that?
I do like that. I do like that.
Mr. Colbert, you're more than welcome to come join us.
Yes, you are, sir. That's right, Kaylee. Yeah.
How dare you point out, the flaw in our own logic, all right? Yeah.
Oh, she hit me pretty hard, like with that, and then so next and this. So when you're talking about a calendar, right?
Yes.
When does next, so let's say next Wednesday become this Wednesday?
Yes. I had a conversation with someone that asked about it, saying like they use a day of Thursday. When people say a week ago Thursday, when actually is that?
Right.
So when does next Wednesday become this Wednesday?
Yeah. So
yeah.
So because we were at Old Thrashers a couple weeks ago, And I'm like, well, it's my birthday next Thursday.
By the way, happy belated birthday, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And she's like, no, it's not your birthday. And I'm like, well, hey, I know when my birthday is.
Yes.
And so she's like, no, your birthday is this Thursday. I'm like, no. So I start asking random people, what are the difference between next to this? Long story short, she won, but I am still convinced that, okay, so when does
I think
next become this?
I think when you're in the actual calendar week, that makes it this. If it's the
Okay.
next calendar week. So let's say I think most calendars begin on a Sunday. So I think once you hit the Sunday, that is the Sunday that precedes whatever they were talking about, we use this. If that is beyond that Sunday, we say next. So we're recording on Monday, September 12th. So if we're talking about Thursday, we will say this Thursday. If we're talking about next Thursday, then that would be the following Thursday, which really quick counting in my head would be the Thursday, the 21st, maybe?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Or 25th, whatever it would be.
But then you think like, okay, so you have the next usually means the next one coming up. So we are actually going to pass a whole Thursday to get to next.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that Thursday is this. Well, here's the other thing that's been pointed up. Hi, Reyes. Your age is inherently flawed because everyone is actually 1 year old. Everyone is actually 1 year younger than what they really are, because you're not born being one. So when you turn 1 year old, your birthday is as a year off. Because when you're born, we don't say you're one until you reach the end of that first calendar year.
Yeah.
But you're beginning your actual second year of life.
Right.
So
Second time around the sun.
So everyone's age is a year off. And I have one more for you that will really blow your mind.
Blow my mind, buddy.
Yes, sir. You know what? And here at Revenge of the Nerds, we're all about blowing. Now, minds, that is. So, or whatever.
Negotiable.
Folks, we don't do this.
Pizza and a movie can get you pretty far.
First, I've done worse for less. All right. Okay. You know what? And penicillin's a hell of a drug. Okay. So with that being said, Bradley, did you know that while 2 wrongs do not make a right, 3 rights make a left?
I dig that. a lot. Also, why do people say it's always the last place you look? Why would you keep looking after you find something?
How do they get the keep off the grass sign on the grass?
Right? These are the mysteries of the world. And I think that we should make it a point of Revenge of the Nerds to get to the bottom of these mysteries. Sir, what do you think?
We say here at Revenge of the Nerds, we don't hit rock bottom because we always can go lower.
That's right.
So so tell Kaylee she absolutely won. We stand corrected, but we are the War Report, which we will continue to call it that, but is now the What's Awesome Report. There we go.
Yes, and that is my way to get around it. Thank you very much for giving me the win against my wife.
Yes, because remember, here at Revenge of the Nerds, we identify as Canadian.
That's awesome. Oh, let's get into it, buddy.
Please tell me we're writing these down. We have 1 million new taglines today. All right. Yes, sir.
Let's get into our What's Awesome Report.
Yes, sir.
Let's start talking about all of the things that are streaming, and then at the end we'll talk about the D23.
All right. Oh wow! And I know we want to keep our report fairly brief. First
Yeah.
off, very much potential spoiler reports. There's so much spoiler alerts. Excuse me.
Mhm.
There's so much things to talk about. I guess what we should just go to speak on to play with my what S stands for Madison is I think we got to start off with She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Yeah.
This was my favorite episode of the season so far,
Agree.
and maybe my favorite single episode of a Disney Plus Marvel show. Like, I'm
Wow.
not saying it's my favorite series because it's
Mhm.
not, but I think singular episode, this may have been my favorite episode because of the addition of Madison King, who is played by Madison Shipman, whose name is spelled with one N but also has a Y, and it's not where you think it might be.
That's an idiom in itself.
Yeah. So a couple things again. Spoiler alerts probably in here. So we continue to see the adventures of Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk,
Mhm.
as she again tries to somehow manage both being a super powered individual who does not want to be a superhero, and an attorney.
Mhm.
We saw what I believe was the sighting of the Wrecking Crew last week, and this week we saw her just honestly trying to traverse dating, right? So
Yeah.
She Hulk had a Tinder page, without calling it Tinder, but it's Tinder.
Right, right, right.
By the way, Bradley, if you were a single man,
Mhm.
if you were to be surfing the interwebs for companionship, uh, would She Hulk be in your array? So we know that Nightwing and Green Arrow
Mhm.
are your favorite characters from
Mhm.
DC. If there was, and again, for our younger viewers, if there was a female character, DC or Marvel, that
Mhm.
you wanted to take out on a date and maybe eventually hold hands with, who would that be, sir?
So green is my favorite color. So, I mean, she's got that going
Jade,
for her. Ooh, Jade,
Gamora?
Gamora. I'm sure. Yeah. The one thing I will say about She-Hulk about the whole hand holding thing, just please don't break my hand. I mean, like, let's, yeah,
Actually,
absolutely, man.
given the potential things being broken, break my hand.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
something's just break the hand.
Right, right. What about you, sir? What about you? How are you swiping on She-Hulk?
I don't. Actually, I kind of dig more Jennifer Walters than She-Hulk a little bit. I have a thing
Mm.
for nerds, but honestly, and this goes way back because I was binging Thundercats before we hopped on. My heart of hearts, my original crush, my OG cartoon girlfriend was
Mhm.
Cheetara from Thundercats.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you're that's pretty much everybody's from that's our age. Her
I
and
basically went from Chitara to Topanga. I mean, that was pretty much the only way. It's somewhere Claire Huxtable. That so we won't unpack that on the
right, right.
podcast. But yes,
That's a good topic for another
yes,
episode.
yes,
We will
yes,
work on that one for
yes.
sure.
I think there needs to be billable hours on some of these things for Brian.
I
Yes,
agree. I agree. So, what do you rate um this episode alone, and what do you rate She-Hulk
sure.
as a whole?
This episode alone, I think is going to get my no. I can't quite do it. It's gonna get a 4.85
Okay.
for one reason specific why it doesn't get a 5, which is also I think hampering the show in my opinion. The episodes are too short. I think
Hmm.
it's when you went from like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where most of the episodes were close to an hour. Some other things we streamed that are hours, sometimes 70 minutes.
Hmm.
The She-Hulk episodes are roughly 32 minutes. I think is about that time. So I think a little longer episode. So she's gonna get 4.85. But again, Madison And I really hope, again, DC, we know you're DC, Disney, we know you're listening. Uh, for sure, you're gonna have her more thing. As far as the overall series, I think every week it gets better. We're gonna get Titania. Looks like a return of her in the next episode. So I gotta give the series probably like four and three quarters. So again, really solid, right up there. On the north side, definitely not my favorite, but in the upper pack, in the upper pack.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm thinking the episode is definitely my favorite of it all. 4.5.
Yes,
So, like, I like that this isn't 100% action packed.
right.
I dig that it's kind of a sitcom,
Yes,
and I like that film. I mean, you got the Larry from Perfect Strangers as her
yes,
dad. I mean,
yes.
like
Cousin Larry,
cousin
yes,
Larry, cousin Larry. I mean, man, I dig the super. I dig the break from
absolutely.
nonstop action, and they're very good at where they put it. I think they stay pretty well to the character,
It
to her
breaks the
character.
fourth wall every episode.
You know.
It makes fun of itself. She
Mhm.
stated, I think, in the second episode, that this was not going to be a cameo per episode. And of course, every episode has had a cameo.
Right.
Uh, and it fits in just perfectly with how Mark Ruffalo has played Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Mhm.
Where they bring a lot of humor, which humanizes the Hulk. Now, the Hulk has always historically been about being rage, being out of control, and they
Yeah.
bring a lot of humor while not making complete fun of it.
Mhm.
I love that. And for anyone that's listening, and of course, the greatest part of this entire series has been the cameo of Megan the Stallion, because there's nothing more authentic. In fact, no, the only more authentic than Megan the Stallion being in She-Hulk are black elves, black hobbits, and black people in House of Dragons. I mean, because there's nothing more authentic than that.
Yeah, we had. Oh man. Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. Um, s- man, this stuff is good. I'm sorry.
It's good.
Like
Yes, it's
man, like
good.
have fun. I'm like, it's one thing if there's bad performances, but I mean, like, you brought up Megan the Stallion. It was to make people laugh, and that's
Yes,
exactly what it was supposed to do.
yes, yes.
She-Hulk is not a serious show.
Right.
I mean, now you did watch Secret Invasion trailer. We'll
Yes.
get into that. We'll get
We'll
into that.
definitely get into that. Yes.
But yeah, well, so let's talk a little bit about. Let's get into House of the Dragon.
Sure.
Would do House of Dragon first, or you want to do Rings of Power?
Let's do House of Dragon first.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, you're doing a great job. Let's keep it going.
All right. So since I last recorded this, that's been a couple episodes of
Hmm.
House of the Dragon. So number one, which I love, and the best part of House of the Dragon, which they do with a lot of HBO shows, is they have a deeper dive into the show after
Hmm.
the episode, which I think really helps with this show, because there's a time jump almost every single episode.
Yeah.
So I believe we're at episode 3 or 4, and we have now jumped about a total of 6 years from episode 1 to the most recent episode.
Yeah.
We continue to see again the quest for the Iron Throne, which still doesn't look like something that would be fun to sit on. Where we see the quest of Rhaenyra, you have Daemon, and of course, finally, because this is Game of Thrones, because this follows the House Targaryen, we got a little bit of incestuous kissing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says, again, for the folks that think having black people is too far, an aunt and a uncle, a cousin, a uncle and his niece making out in a brothel. That's wholesome family fun,
Yeah.
right there. So we got a little bit about that. So we got to see a few different things. I'm going to jump at one particular episode.
Hmm.
Just say this, because I'm loving this series. Bradley, who is your favorite character? I want to tell you who mine is, and it happened at the episode previous to this, which is Daemon Targaryen. That he is a
Same.
total badass.
Same.
See,
Matt
if this
Smith.
dude was in Doctor Who, he may change me to Whoosian. Okay, we'd have just gotten this version. I know it's the same actor, but if we'd have just gotten him, and by the way, where was this guy in Morbius? Come on.
Right?
Yes, yes.
Right? I mean, man, like the villain in Morbius was just the 11th Doctor as a villain.
Yes,
That it
yes,
was slapstick, it was stupid.
yes,
But this
yeah,
guy, Daemon Targaryen,
yes,
man, Matt Smith must have been I mean, man, he's definitely doing
yes.
a great job.
Which, I mean, he turned that entire beach basically to Joe's Crab Shack by the time he was done.
Yeah.
You know, like all the stuff. So again, without getting too much into spoilers, we continue to see again, which is what so much I liked about Game of Thrones, is the idea that as much you have dragons and mysticism,
Mm,
you also do have a fairly tight story of political power, of
yeah.
succession. That actually does mirror, the great European houses. By the way, R.I.P. to Queen Elizabeth.
Hmm.
I posted a meme of her and Tupac because I figured the goat. So that's the thing. But absolutely, this is fine. And by the way, while I was making jest of this, we also talk about this with Ring of Power. Understand this. I'm going to take 2 seconds to be a little bit serious here.
Yeah, let's do it.
As a person of color who grew up watching Marvel, DC, reading Greek mythology, all this source, all the stuff we talk about,
Mm,
the stories are what really drew me in because they're great stories.
yeah.
But unfortunately, most of these stories were written that they did not include us. And as much as you can say, well, that's the past, that's based on old Europe. Now, how you explain shows that are supposed to take place in the future where there's one or two of us,
Mm,
okay? So don't make it sound like this is accidental, all right? Because I remember when Black Panther came out, the number of people who were upset that there were literally two white people who I always like to point they're the token white people because they're also in token stuff. Anyway,
right, right.
um, uh, you know, there's nothing wrong with having greater diversity and greater reflection of people because that just expands your fan base. Everyone, there's something so much. There's great things in She-Hulk. There's great things in Lord of the Rings and House of Dragons. There's great things in Rings of Power. There's great things in all these great fun things. But so often than not, we have to find a space and hopefully that we're somewhere in the mix to reflect that. To quote one of your favorites, Green Lantern, when they talk about the green, the Green Lantern has very much spoken about you did this for, the Green Man and the Orange Man, so the aliens. What have you done for the White Man? And the fact that they had to make a conscious choice to stop having white Green Lanterns because that's supposed to be the peak of humanity. All
Hmm.
right, so these things are meant to be for everyone. Okay, and guess what? Black people buy comics. Black people subscribe to HBO. Black people subscribe to Amazon Prime. So as a customer of these products, you're damn sure to have someone that looks like me.
Agree. And I hate the toxic fandom. Why can't you judge a story on the story
Yes.
and just be like, it either worked or it didn't? Like, man, it's entertainment for a reason. If you're not entertained,
Mhm.
keep scrolling, turn the channel, whatever, whatever.
Absolutely.
There, I mean, are you, Russell Crowe? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Man, yeah, yeah. Man, I like, and I'm one of these people. You know me. I give lots of fives.
Right.
Chris Stapleton
Right.
is a buddy of mine. Chris
Right.
Stapleton on stage with ZZ Top is a pretty good.
That's your brand, man. You're getting there. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And man, like, do things go for too far? And I hate when things get overly political. But toxic fandom, take a step back and just watch the stuff.
And by the way, for people that feel that it's woke to point these things out, not one point in any of the episodes featuring the House Valerian or the Black Harfoots and the Black Elves.
Mhm.
Never in these shows is it brought up that they're of a darker skin complexion than some of the other characters. So the only people who are interpreting this as being some type of agenda are the very people who are complaining that it's a political agenda.
Yeah.
Because I've not seen one mention of the black elf or the black sea snake, which again, just love that name so much. Uh,
This kind of
um,
scares the crap out of me. But
yeah, but you know what? That's why they're really popular with the Kardashians. Anyway, um,
all right, Ray J.
uh, or again, the Black Harfoots. I mean, none of that is relevant to the show that they don't make that battle. And if they did make
Yeah.
that mention, I don't think that's wrong. But that's not the story that they're telling. They're telling stories of powerful houses,
Mhm.
of just badass elves,
Mhm.
wise Harefoots, and yes, a character that got She-Hulk to twerk. By the way, if you had the junk in the trunk that She-Hulk has, you damn well better work it. All right. So sit back, enjoy the shows. And as my tag team partner said, if it's really breaking your brain for that, two things. Number one, just don't watch the show. Number two, maybe your issue isn't with fictional Black people, it's with real Black people.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's one of those things. I wish that it wasn't, around, but unfortunately it is, and it sucks. So all we can do is I'm gonna do my part and be the best kind of person that I can be, and try to set a good example.
And as people can tell, Bradley and I are a little bit different in complexion. Again, my friend, you're still my brother from another mother, and we'll continue to bring the nerddom as much as we can. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I will flip it to you. What is your rating of House of Dragons so far?
Ooh, House of Dragons. I'm gonna go 4.
Okay.
So it's I want to do something like I like there's parts that I like and then there's parts that I just aren't work like the King. I'm not Patty. He's a great actor and everything, but
Mhm.
I don't just I don't
I
have a
mean,
hard time caring about him.
following the Baratheons and Joffrey and all that,
Yeah,
we're used to having these badass kings, and he's really a weak kind of milk toast king. He's just kind
yeah,
of there.
right.
Not. By the way, did you catch if you've seen the most recent episode?
Hmm.
Have you caught he's now lost two fingers on his? I believe it's his left hand.
I did not.
They do a really quick shot. It's actually when the hand comes to speak to him. They do a shot because they show the king's hand on a chair, and he has the outer two fingers on his hand. On his left hand, I do believe, are
Hmm.
black, and you can tell that most of the digits are gone. So while he didn't so
Oh.
explicitly talk about it,
Hmm.
this episode, just by when they do a quick shot of his hand, the whatever is continuing to creep.
Nice. I like that, and the whole like hand taking away the hand. I mean, that's
Yes,
pretty
literally
cool with
and
that too.
figuratively. Yes.
Right. So I guess I didn't catch that. So I mean that helps. But I mean Damon steals the show.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and right. Oh gosh, I can never pronounce her name, but she's fantastic.
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
fantastic as well. I mean,
It also shows that sometimes being the king's guard has benefits.
yeah, and you knew that was coming.
Oh yeah. The minute
Yeah,
she picked him, you're like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, okay. Do you have any battle experience? Yeah.
yep.
Battle experience? Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And in the Game of Thrones, you know what that means. So, but yeah, man. So it's good. I'm gonna keep on going. I almost feel like they're doing too much time jumps.
Yeah, I think they will
Um,
have to slow this down at some point.
yeah, or else we're
Um,
gonna we're gonna hit the Game of Thrones era in a season.
yeah. I think it'll slow down. I mean, this is my prediction. I think once we get Aegon, who is the king's only son at this point.
Yeah.
I think once they get him to um, a little bit more advanced age, probably, well, he's kind of a toddler at this point, but get
Mhm.
him maybe to preteen or maybe teenager, where he can actually you'll start to see more of the grooming
Yeah.
with that. And again, if you watch the original Game of Thrones series, you know what eventually happens
Mhm.
between Aegon and Rhaenyra. I'm not going to share that. If you want to know, really go back. I think it's the first. I think it's the first season of Game of Thrones. They do tell you because it's what happens in their history.
Mhm.
We've also seen the first both Lannisters and what's the other big house that they have folks come from. I think we've had both the Lannisters and the Baratheons
Yeah.
now make kind of quick cameos with their ancestors of this timeline as well. So just some really cool things there. I agree with you. The time jumping needs to slow down a little bit, and they need to kind of solidify. Obviously, this is really about the role
Yeah.
of Rhaenyra and her grooming. Will she or will she not be the heir? The thing with Aegon, Daemon, and I think we will again to see more. And by the way, we're really used to, and I think that's why the previous episode 3 of the season, so many of us really dug up because it got back to that Game of Thrones, that battle,
Mm-hmm.
So we saw like the Battle of the Bastards and all these things. We had not really seen a lot of that fighting,
Yeah.
which we got to see a lot of the third episode, which, I think we may be revisiting. RIP, again, spoiler alert, RIP to the crab feeder. We didn't get to know you nearly as well.
Right.
But what an ending to that episode. Just what an
Man.
ending.
Whew, yeah. Yeah, enough said, man. You hit the nail on the head. Let's talk about Lord of the Rings of Power,
All
because
right.
I know, man. Who do you think the guy is? Who do you think the stranger is?
Yes, in my opinion, the Stranger's Gandalf. Now, again, I will be the first to say I've not read all the books.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of Google searches that point out at this particular point in time, they're staying strictly to the books that Tolkien read. This is a little early. However, if you've read the books or read in a synopsis of how Gandalf comes to Middle Earth, it's pretty much how the Stranger comes to
Yeah.
Middle Earth. Gandalf is basically an angel who descends to Earth, takes the form of Gandalf, is disoriented and needs to basically relearn everything in more of a mortal shell. And not to mention the actor. I mean, this basically looks like a
Right.
young version of Gandalf, right?
He does.
Yeah. So I'm personally laying money on the Stranger being Gandalf,
Mm-hmm.
but it may or may not. But again, that's my money, is that the Stranger is actually going to be revealed to be Gandalf.
Yeah, and I know like everything that I've read and everything, Gandalf doesn't show up yet, but
Yep.
you know what? Maybe that's a surprise. Hey,
Right.
and what's Lord of the Rings without Gandalf? I mean, this if this is Gandalf, I
It's
will
like
not be
the
upset.
X-Men without Magneto.
Well played, sir.
It's like the Da Vinci Code without Lord Teabing.
Yeah, I was trying to get there. I'm like, I couldn't even remember. But yes. And if you don't know, we are talking about Sir Ian McKellen.
Sir Ian McKellen. Yes.
Yes. The
Or as
wonderful
we also
actor.
know him, Patrick Stewart's BFF. Yes.
Yep. All right. So what do you rate Lord of the Rings so far?
Lord, with the Rings of Power, unlike House of Dragon, which I really like, I overall like House of Dragons. Again, not quite as much as of the first 7 seasons of Game of Thrones. But I do like where it's going. Rings of Power, it's like it's just got so many different things going on. We actually got to see Isildur, which again, if you know
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, that's a big deal. We've got Galadriel and the Hut stuff going on. We've got the orcs. We've got the elves that were imprisoned by the orcs. I mean, there's so many different things going on that you really want all the stories to convalesce, and let's just get to Sauron already, right? I mean, that's the feeling of it.
Right.
So because of that, that's putting me more in the low 4s with this. I'll give it like 4.25. But yeah, so I'm still watching it. Good episodes, but it just needs to. On some, it feels like House of Dragon may move a little too fast.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Rings of Power is moving a little too slow.
I agree. Lay, you want to say hi?
Hi!
Honey, don't yell. Don't yell.
Hi, Princess Leia. How are you?
Hi.
Okay, now, and thank you for not yelling. That is much nicer to my very old ears.
Oh.
And we have the cat. The cat has gained weight.
You just called my kitty fat.
No, I said the cat has gained weight. I did not say the cat was fat.
You called her fat.
No, because here at Preventions and Nerds, we do not body shame because, hey,
You're
round is a shape.
Cat.
As my friend Annie Judiceshi would say, he's a chunk. Okay, that's okay.
It's a she.
Well, she's a chunk. Okay. And she just got belted by your headphones.
Say bye.
Bye. She says bye too.
All right.
Oh. The kitty, the
So
Darth.
Bradley, apparently I body
He
shamed your
loves you,
cat.
big boy.
Good job, thank you.
I do what I can.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's why you're my brother.
Do what I can. So yeah. So excuse me, Rings of Power just needs to move a little bit faster,
Mhm.
but overall a good show, definitely worth it. But I think honestly, having Rings of Power up against House of Dragon, there's obviously some similarity between the
Yeah,
two, and I think that might be actually hurting. It'd be great if we go from one to the other, having one on Thursday and one on Friday and one on Sunday. It just gets to
I agree. I mean, like, I'm a huge fantasy person myself, but yeah, man, when you get because I never get to watch Rings of Power on Friday. It's
sure,
usually Saturday or Sunday.
sure, sure,
Whenever I
sure.
can break off throughout the weekend. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm about the same. I mean, I'm obviously gonna finish watching it and everything,
Absolutely.
but I definitely wanted to see where it's going. So,
All
uh,
right.
what else Cobra Kai? Did you watch Cobra
Thank you.
Kai?
I've got about 4 episodes into Cobra Kai, loving it. I like that we're seeing more Johnny and less Daniel.
Hmm.
I like this guy. 'Cause me personally, the Daniel character, while I really like Machio's performance, there's some Billy Zabka and Daniel. Billy Zabka and Johnny just are really great. And I finished the episode where I might be a little further than four, but they did that great. If you've not gotten this far, they do a really great job of having Creasy kind of confront the demons of his past. That was
Hmm.
great. And whoever played young Johnny, I had a double take. Like, wait, did they do like just splicing from some old footage? Really good job. And Silver is just great as a villain.
It's his
I
son.
love him. Is that really who
Yeah,
that
that's
is?
Martin Cove's son that plays the young version of Kreese.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's outstanding.
yeah. So
That's really good.
I actually finished. I finished it. I finished
Okay.
all 10 episodes. And it's not my favorite season, but they did a couple different
Hmm.
things here. They focused more on the adult thing, which before it was kind of like that was kind of underneath everything,
Hmm.
I do like where they've actually gone with, with Johnny,
Sure.
Daniel, and
Sure.
they are finally like, yeah, we're friends, we're buddies
Okay.
now,
All right.
you know.
Good. Good.
And
And
Chosen,
Chosen was always my favorite opponent of Daniel. I mean, as much as we talk about because Zapka was always such a great job at being a d bag that I couldn't
yeah,
actually like him. But Chosen and my boy Duff were always right there because I used to have it down. It's been too many years, but I used to do like a spot on impression of put him in a body bag. I could do it. I can't do it anymore, thankfully. But Chosen was always. I actually prefer the final fight in
mm,
part two versus part one.
yeah,
And the less we say about part three, the better. And we will not ever speak of the next Karate Kid unless they can talk Hillary Swank.
hmm,
Unless they can talk Hillary Swank into doing a cameo, we will not mention the next Karate Kid.
yeah. What do you think about the Julie? Have you got to that episode yet? All right, never mind.
Okay.
I won't go into that
You just
anymore.
told me what I'm doing none after the podcast,
Spoiler
though.
spoiler alert.
You just
Spoiler.
told me what I'm gonna do tonight after the podcast. All right, sir.
Oh, buddy.
Okay.
What do you rate? What do you rate the 4 episodes? How much do you like it?
I really like it because again, I was a big Chosen fan, so having him in there, I really enjoy that, and I really like Terry Silver actually better as the big bad than Martin
Mhm,
Kreese. I always thought Kreese just needed. So I thought it was some rehab. So that they have an authentic bad guy as the big bad. So
mm,
through the 4 or 5 episodes I've watched, I really have enjoyed. But I will say, and then I give you my rating. I kind of miss some of the fighting, right? Because they've gotten to a point that like, hey, we're not going to all fight because we were supposed to do. Like, there's
yeah.
consequences. So when we gonna get kicked out of the pool, so they're trying to like control that a little bit more.
Mhm.
I will say I've enjoyed it so far, and I would say probably give it about 4.5. I give it a good 4.5.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say about the show is that if there is not another season, I won't be mad. They do a good job
Okay,
of everything, and like, okay, I can accept that. But I'm pretty sure that there is going to be more Cobra Kai coming.
sure,
It makes way too much money for Netflix.
yeah.
Uh,
And
Brian,
it's a fairly inexpensive show to make as well. I
yeah,
mean, there's not a ton of special effects. The cast is actually fairly small. The even the people who are famous when the show started, their fame was a few decades old. So
right.
it's not like you're paying. I'm sure at this point, the stars have probably renegotiated for decent
Mhm.
deals. But I get the feeling Macho and Billy Zabka, where they were making the first or second season of the show, was somewhat affordable for Netflix.
Yeah. Now, Brian, did you ever get into Stargirl?
A little bit, a little bit.
So there is a new season of Stargirl. I do want to bring that up in our What's
Please.
Awesome report. And I did watch there's like 2 or 3 episodes out. I watched the first one. They're setting up a whodunit
Okay.
for the season. We'll touch base on that later on. Let's keep moving really quick. We're 40 minutes in, and
Yes, and we
um,
still got miles to go before we sleep. So I think the only thing I will, before we talk about the last thing, I just want to mention my really quick way back
mhm,
throwback, which is Mortal Kombat, but the 1995 movie. Really, really underrated film.
yeah,
Done very, very well. Probably, in my opinion, probably one of the best translation of a video game into a movie. Was
mhm,
done really, really well. The sequels, we'll leave that where it is.
yeah,
But the original was fantastic, including being much better than the rated R version that would premiere on HBO during the pandemic. So I really, really like the 95. So if you've not had a chance to watch the Mortal Kombat, Combat with the K,
mhm,
the 1995 version of that, do your favor. It's a really good popcorn and just have a good time action movie, about 90 minutes long.
mhm.
Check that out. And I think the last thing we have for our war report, unless you got extra stuff, is Secret Invasion.
Yeah. So I got one last thing. I went and saw the Barbarian.
Okay.
And saying that it's the best horror movie of the year. I can see it. It's very very tropey, but then at times they call out the tropes. So
Okay.
it was kind of nice to see. And um,
Is it as tongue in cheek as like the Scream movies, or is it taking it more seriously than Scream did? At least
yeah,
parts of Scream.
yeah, they take it more serious than Scream. And when you watch it, I just want you. All I gotta say is the tape measure, the tape measure. I'll leave it there.
That's kind of ominous,
Yeah,
kind of that's basically Silence of the Lambs the same lotion. Like
yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening here? Yes, okay. The tape measure. All right. So now again, that brings back to my reference of, remember, the sea snake.
All right. Other than that, I got back to school trivia tomorrow at
Yes.
B&B Theaters, and getting ready to do a big thing for Lyle Crocodile, but more to the come on that. Also, make sure you check out my book on Amazon, Leveling Up My Awesome.
Shameless plug number 2.
All right, Brian, let's do a little bit of honest advertising. I know you got
Yes,
one
sir.
for me.
I got one for us. All right. So our honest ad. So here we go. This is an honest ad for Croc shoes. Nike, Adidas, Reebok. These shoes tell the story of champions, ballers, and the athletic elite. But what about us, the other guys? Finally, we have shoes that reflect true American values. The Crocs. Simple, approachable, and ugly as hell. Crocs are the shoes that let you be you and tells everyone else to stay the hell away. Whether you're a surgeon, a third grade teacher, or that weirdo that lives in his mom's basement listening to nerd podcasts all day, Crocs ensure that you will always get a good night's sleep because you will definitely be sleeping alone. If you enjoy collecting stamps, arguing about how black people are just too unrealistic to have in fantasy shows, log out of your Parlor account and have your retired neighbor drive you to the nearest Bass Pro Shop and buy your camouflage Crocs today. Crocs, the only shoe officially endorsed by the Iowa State Fair and Fox News.
Oh wow, good job, sir. Good job, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that
And
that
as
was.
always, Crocs, please don't sue us.
Oh man. All right, let's go ahead and Brad, what are we talking about in our prevenge area part of the show?
All right, so kicking off with Cobra Kai, I know we went long on our war report. There was just so much good stuff.
Mhm.
So back to Cobra Kai really quickly. So for those of you, I'm assuming that you're familiar with this, but long, long, long ago in the magical time of the '80s, there was a little plucky film about a young man from Reseda who moves to California and is bullied, and the way in which he learns how to deal with bullying. Did he turn the other cheek? No. He falls under the tutelage of an old Asian man who works as a custodian in his building, who spends his nights teaching him how to wax things on and wax them off.
Yeah.
And that is the crux of the Karate Kid, which spawned three spinoffs, or well, three sequels, two of which we can discuss a little bit, and has now been given new life through 5, probably 6 seasons of Cobra Kai. So,
Mhm.
with that being said, Bradley and I are going to discuss shows that we think should be given a Cobra Kai treatment, which were movies. I focus all of mine on movies from the '80s, but movies that could be relaunched, not redone, but
Mhm.
actually taking place as sequels to next up in those stories, as part of like an internet series, like on Netflix or Prime, or you know what, the way Disney's going, Disney Plus, because they're slowly taking over the world. So as always, Bradley and I never discuss our list. We'll talk about the shows that the movies that we think should get the Cobra Kai treatment and be reborn as series.
And I concur. I co-sign all of that. And all mine are from the 80s too.
All right, sir. So why don't you go first? Do you have any honorable mention? Or are you just gonna drop to like your list?
I'm just gonna go to my list. I don't have
Go
any
for it.
particular order. I
All right.
did I did pick things out from all sorts of different genres.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start at the top and let's work my way down. First, I wanted something that for like kind of horror, but not really horror. The Lost Boys, and the Monster Squad. So I kind of feel like those both. I mean, the Lost Boys definitely need something. I
Mm-hmm.
know, I know that they've rebooted it, they've done other stuff, but
Sure.
nothing is going to beat the original. And I definitely think that it would make a cool series to do. Monster Squad, same thing. A continuation of the Monster Squad would just be fun. I just remember loving that movie when I was a kid.
But no, my demon with Howard Mandel. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my little monster?
My little monster, not my demon, my
Yeah.
demon, which is actually I was thinking about my demon boyfriend, which stars Scott Valentine, who if you remember from Facts of not Facts of Life,
Scott
Michael J.
Bad.
Fox, Family Ties,
Oh,
Family
okay.
Ties. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
he actually played a movie, this horrible movie where I mean to call it a B movie is giving it a lot of cred. But he basically just only has an 80. He was this guy that basically gets cursed that by that it's slowly turning him into a demon because he's just so irresistible to women. So he has to basically find his true love to stop the demon in him. And so that's along those same veins of things that again in the '80s we spent a lot of money on to
Mhm.
go see. Yeah. All right.
All right, and then along those lines, Iron Eagle. I figured, I mean, Iron Eagle would
Yes.
definitely need,
Yes.
especially with Top Gun out
Thank you. In
now.
a world that we have Top Gun Maverick, we need another Iron Eagle.
Yep. Last Action Hero. Well,
Okay.
I think that's 90s. I think
Very
that's
early
probably 90s.
'90s.
Yeah.
But it stars Schwarzenegger, so everything he does is in the '80s. I don't care.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. And just the premise of that, I think that you could do a
Yes.
lot with. Um, Puppet Master. Puppet Master is another one that I think like you could easily bring back and you could tell more stories on.
Absolutely.
And then Event Horizon. Man, I remember being scared out of my gore with that movie. I think that
Yes.
might be the 90s too.
But still, a really good movie.
Mhm.
And again, things you can see. And we don't have nearly the great kind of disaster films that we had
Yeah.
in like the '80s, even the early '90s. Because because I mean, once you've lived through COVID, you've kind
Mhm.
of been there, done that. Like, really, what else you got?
Mhm.
So I think those are all really good. Those are all really good. And by the way, and I'm not sure if you're done with your list, but
Like a
so
couple more.
far we definitely have had at least one match. So
Very cool. Very cool. Here's one that I think would be just awesome to bring back. Bring back a red stapler. Bring back the office world, office space would be, and I think Mike Judge would be on board for this. I mean, like, I TPS the whole night. I mean, just a comedy base in that, kind of make it more like The Office. But I think something like that would be really fun.
if you did it, you have to have like Steve Carell, and I kind of want to thank like the Gary Cole. Have that played by Alec Baldwin because bang, he'll be a killer. All right,
Right.
so God, that made me laugh again.
I thought it was funny.
Alec, don't sue me. Okay, yes,
Other than that, just a couple other ones.
sure.
Goonies. Goonies never die. So I mean,
Mhm.
why have we not gotten more stuff from Goonies? I know they're working on a sequel, but anyway, I think it'd make a cool little Disney Plus series. The Never Ending Story. Now I
Which
know you
again, why on
cannot touch
earth does it end if it's a never-ending story, right? Yes,
exactly. I mean, you could tell so much more. It's a freaking book. So do
yes.
it, and you can leave the original alone.
And you can have Moonchild with kids somehow,
Right, exactly. Now, Brian, the
Yeah.
final one that I need to bring up
All right.
has touched our podcast on more than one occasion.
And here at Prevent of the Nerds, we enjoy being touched.
A little bit to the left. There we
Yes.
go. There
There.
we go.
Wait. Now we're cooking with fire. Yes. All right.
Yeah. Silverhawks.
Probably
Yeah.
the most underrated 80s cartoon
Yeah.
ever is Silverhawks.
I had to put it on my list just
Yes.
because we've talked about it a million times.
I mean, in a world that was run by G.I. Joe, the Transformers, and Thundercats, Silverhawk just so similar to Mask. Silverhawks just did not get its due. Totally underrated show.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would love kind of a continuation reimagining of it and do it live action. I would love them to almost do
Yeah.
like kind of did with Lost in Space. Now this is obviously animated, which Lost in Space was live action of the show as well.
Mhm.
But to actually make it you could definitely, I mean, you could tell all the great stories about you have these cyborgs going into space, the loss of their humanity to fight this interstellar monster in all the worlds. I think this would be I mean, I think of all the ones you mentioned, that's the one that I would be at the top of my list. It's not on my list, we'll talk about here in a second, but of the ones you've said, that's one like, yes, why don't we do this? Yes.
Awesome. All right. Now, what do you got for me, man?
All right, so as always, I do kind of honorable mention shows that I think, you know what, these are movies that, we could do them. I think they'll be interesting, but I've got my top five that I really put some thought into. So my honorable mentions are Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I actually didn't know it has had some spinoffs and things of that nature, but I think you could really do an updated version with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Almost made mine.
Yes, that actually was the first movie that I saw with my grandmother, so it shows a special place in my heart with that. One of the ones that I honestly love to watch, it is still somewhat problematic, some of the messages through with a 2022 lens, but Big Trouble in Little China. Because to me, it was set up for a spinoff. You've got, Jack Burton in the truck with the monster on the back. What happens next? I would love to see that. Maybe we can get a Ken Cattrall and cameo with that as well. We mentioned him earlier, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I would love a Running Man series. I think that could be so good.
Yes.
So good. Especially in a world we have so many reality shows. Just play with that idea. Weird Science. I would love to see. Again, it had a series after the movie. We start Vanessa Angel. I would really like to see that. And one, just because it was a stupid movie, made absolutely no sense, even in a science fiction, fantasy, rom-com thing. But this movie I always loved it for one particular reason. It was a character by the name of Hollywood. I want to see a reimagining of Mannequin. That would just be And I believe that also
Yeah.
had Kim Cattrall in it.
It did.
So yes. Plus, who doesn't just want more rockin' music from Journey? Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So here's my actual top five, and I will say, Brad, of my top five, we have two that are the same.
Nice.
So here we
Nice.
go. Number one, number five, Revenge of the Nerds. Okay,
Absolutely.
our
Yeah.
our namesake. You could
Yep.
redo it. You could have Gilbert and his ilk, their kids. I
Mhm.
think it'd be a really easy thing to do. Up next, we talked about a couple weeks ago, The Last Dragon. Similar, because if you're gonna reboot Cobra Kai, reboot, or you're gonna continue Karate
Mhm.
Kid with Cobra Kai, give us The Last Dragon. Give us Bruce Leroy's kid as he goes on his quest. Again, it's a story that in the movie form we saw taken probably to the end, but part of me wants I just would love to see these two actors and something again in Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. I would love to see a Back to the Future series.
Okay.
I would love to see something happen there. Give us Marty's kids, give us Doc's kids. Maybe Doc has like a granddaughter at this point,
Mhm.
something like that. And I see that kind of be a reboot, almost like they read with Ghostbusters Afterlife, but give it to
Mhm.
us as a series. And my top two, which are the two that we matched on. So number two, The Lost Boys. For all the things you said, we need a Lost Boys continuation in a world that we've had True Blood, we've had Twilight, we've had Daybreak. I'm sorry, Day Shift. Well, we also had Daybreakers.
Yep.
There's so many things. I just want to see the Lost Boys. We still got Corey Feldman with us. RIP to Corey Haim. We still got Kiefer Sutherland. And remember, the grandpa, of all the damn vampires. I think there's a lot can be done there. Diane Weiss, a lot of that cast is still around.
Mhm.
So let's just start there. And number one, as you said it's got to be the quest for One Eyed Willie's other goal, because we know it's out there, is Goonies. Is
Yes.
absolutely Goonies. And
Yes.
and in a world in which Josh Brolin is both Thanos and Cable, you got to give us back. We need Brand. We need Brand on the tricycle in the shorts. And again, speaking only for myself, we need Andy. You Goonie.
Yes, man. See, like I thought about Indiana Jones, but then I'm like, we been there. We got the Young Indiana Jones show, dude. Great list, great list. I concur with everything that you said. Um, which I guess we'll let's go right into the next part of the show,
Sure.
and let's talk about what we're gonna pitch, fix, and ditch.
Let's
I
do it.
say let's do one of the ones that we were the same on, like Lost Boys or Goonies.
Let's do Goonies. I think that's one that and again, first movie I ever one of the first. And so
Mhm.
the first three movies I saw, which is why you hear me rest on the podcast so much, were Ghostbusters, Goonies, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Those were the first three movies I ever saw. And then Strange number four was Eddie Murphy Raw when I was like 10.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
my mom wanted to see Eddie Murphy, and I kind of went. None of the jokes made sense. However, and this was unplanned. If you've ever seen Eddie Murphy Raw,
uh-huh.
they have a short vignette before the actual stand up. And that short vignette, which is when he first started doing comedy in his living room, stars one Samuel L. Jackson, where the L stands for
Mm-hmm. Oh, buddy,
Sam. We got you. We got you, bro. Okay. So yeah, so let's talk a little Goonies.
let's do that. So yeah, so how what would you pitch? Would you pitch the original Goonies going back, or would you pitch that they're gonna hand off to their kids, or is it gonna be a joint venture, them and the kids?
Sure. So I think one of the first things we do is that we follow the Goonies in that town since they, save the Goondocks, right? So similar to like Stranger Things, and again, that's one of the reasons why I thought, I think, I don't know about you, but for me, one of the things that made me want to see the Goonies is there's so much you can tell that Stranger Things is definitely inspired
Oh
by the
yeah,
Goonies.
oh
It's
yeah.
not even veiled. And good for them.
And
Good for them.
I put the Duffers on this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So I would say you can almost take a little bit of a darker tone with it.
Mhm.
Again, Stranger Things has darker episodes and lighter episodes. But what I also would do would be taking the Goonies and looking at that original crew. So you've got Bran, you've got Data.
Mhm.
You've got Mouth, you've got Chunk, you've got all those. And you can see how their lives have been when you peak at like 13,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So again, you almost would Cobra Kai it, like what would
Mhm.
happen to their lives. You'll figure I can see it basically all of them moving away except for the Sean Astin character,
Mhm.
and him just constantly, he takes over the dad's job, running the local museum, and he talks about all the great things that they did as the Goonies. They have all these artifacts and things of that nature, and the town basically moves on and kind of forgets. And you can see where maybe they had done reunions that after a while, there's fewer and fewer people were coming, and he feels like the town has forgotten. And then he really wants to get the group back together, so he hears about another ship, another treasure. I mean, One Eye Willie had, One Eye Willie had an armada. This
Mhm.
is bigger than the original ship that they found, and him trying to get the Goonies back together for one last adventure. And I would say almost half the movie would be him trying to get them all together, and you'd almost have to go darker to make this happen. Like there are a bunch of grown men on high blood pressure medicine, like they're all on Lipitor at this point, right? So no
Right.
one's trying to do this. Like Andy and Bran got married, but their relationship was actually broken at this
Mhm.
point. So you have to go something darker to really maybe get them all together. But once you do that, then you actually again have them on that new quest, and you definitely want to integrate their kids with
Mhm.
this as well.
So would this be a movie or a show?
It would be a show. It
Okay,
would
cool.
absolutely be a show, because I think you could actually do this over a few seasons where again you get this. And I would say you would spend maybe the first couple episodes just talking about their lives separately.
Mhm.
You know, so again, what's Brand's life like? What's Data's life like? What's Mouth life like? And they all again get a phone call from Mikey, and that's where each episode ends,
Mhm.
is that call from Mikey. And maybe Mikey's kidnapped. Maybe that's why they come back. Maybe Mikey's
Mm.
kidnapped and Mikey's taken, and they all
Yeah.
have to find the treasure to save Mikey, right? So, you take Sean Astin, and we do a lot of cameos, but them all, and again, you maybe have, because at this point, it's feasible that they all would have grown kids at this point,
Mhm.
or, late teens, early 20s, minimally at this point. So, you maybe you integrate some of their kids, ex-wives, whatever, to again find the next treasure.
Yep, I like that. I mean, we can't really fix the Goonies because the Goonies
What is
is
there to
one of those
fix? Yeah.
perfect movies. I mean, we did a whole episode on perfect movies. Goonies was in
Yes.
there. Princess
Yes.
Bride was in there, and I
Yeah.
think there's a
Yeah.
couple other ones in there as well.
I mean, just because that one scene again where Andy and Mikey gave every little boy hope that, you know what, all I need is for my brother to go in the wrong cave. That's all I need. That's all I need, and there's hope, right? So again, the movie again is one of those. That is from the lens of a kid watching that. It's one of the first movies I have it on. I have had it in every possible format. I've had it in VH1, DVD, Laserdisc. I have it. Again, I may not actually catch up on Cobra Kai. I may watch the Goonies as soon as we're done recording. It is done just so well. For it really was Christopher Columbus who did everything
Mhm.
right with capturing things from a kid's point of view. Right, you head over to the Duffer, so you make it a little more serious,
Mhm.
in a darker tone. But I would just love that. The only thing that maybe they could have fixed with it was, again, looking at through 2022, maybe change some of the message that Sloth kind of gave out.
Yeah.
And I think you got to bring Sloth back,
Mhm.
and maybe show Sloth, in a better place than he was at the end of it. But even that was mental. Oh, here's how you fix it. Here's how you fix it, and you may know where I'm going with this. So maybe we don't see Sloth for almost the entire movie, and then Sloth shows up and he hops down and he begins to save the Goonies, and he grabs his button-up shirt and he rips it off, and yay, he has fixed the sole mistake in the movie The Goonies, and he has replaced that horrific, terrible, sacrilegious Superman shirt
with Batman.
With Batman. That is how you fix the Goonies, sir. That is how you fix the Goonies.
That is 100% correct. Sloth definitely needs to be wearing Batman instead of Superman.
Yes.
Especially in 2022.
Absolutely.
That is the right answer. That is
Sloth is the hero that the Goondocks deserve.
Oh, buddy. All right. Let's do. You got a riddle for me. You beat me last time.
I do.
Let me see. And anybody watching or listening, I may need help. I may have to phone in a friend. So,
absolutely. And I am going to give this in the manner of a nursery rhyme.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Or at least I think it's a nursery rhyme. We'll see. Yeah. So I will do this in the meta and rhyme scheme of the I'm a Little Teapot.
Short and stout. Cool.
Yes. So, again, for anyone that's unfamiliar, when we do our riddles, I will read the riddles many times as Bradley requests. He gets 3 questions and he gets 3 guesses. So here we go. All right. And again, for those of you that are listening, feel free to put things in the chat. If you got a question you want to ask, feel free. So here we go. I'm a little Brussels sprout, short and stout. I act in films where we're not sure what they're about. Ripped t-shirts and acid wash jeans fill each and every one of my action scenes. Traveling through time and fighting on the street, I portray soldiers that are the universe's elite. Some call me expendable, just ask my friends. Stallone to Jack Black, the list never ends. From WWE superstars to the mighty Thor, the flexibility of my groin is Hollywood lore.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
My man.
So halfway through, I got it. I was like, oh, the acid wash jeans. I'm like, Russell, Van Damme there. And then as you're going, I'm like, yep, Van Damme.
Yes. And of course, the WWE superstar, Rob Van Dam.
Actually,
Absolutely.
more than that, because who was in Universal Soldier 2? One Bill Goldberg.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you know that Rob Van Dam, and I forget his real last name, but Rob Van Dam, RVD.
Yeah,
sure. He actually holds a legit weightlifting record for being able to do, because he actually it's called the Van Dam lift. So it literally is in that position where, so if you've ever watched a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, or again if you saw Thor: Love and Thunder, which is a nod to it as well, where you jump and his legs are completely split apart. So as David, my voice is, I sang falsetto after seeing that scene. This actually is a lift in which you have your ankles on chairs with nothing else supporting your weight, and you do a deadlift of a weight from that position. And Rob Van Dam holds the record for being able to lift weight in that position. Why anyone else would want that record, I don't know. Because it just seems like there's so much more I could do. Like me sitting at home doing nothing, I think it's a better use of my time. But that actually is a legit weightlifting record that he holds.
But how awesome is that Jean-Claude Van Damme doesn't have it, and the fake Van Damme does, which is awesome on so many levels. RVD, arguably one of the greatest wrestlers that has ever been.
Yes.
We are big fans of the RVD.
Yes, sir. He truthfully is one of a kind. Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes. By the way, I have the WWE 2K video game, and the minute Rob Van Dam is a downloadable character, the minute they release him as a DLC, I purchased the entire pack They have like 12 wrestlers. 11 of them I could not care about, but because it was in a pack, I bought the entire pack just so I could wrestle as RVD. Absolutely.
And that is the right answer.
Yes, sir.
That is the right answer. Now, Brian, we have not talked about D23.
True.
So before we sign off, let's talk a little bit about D23. A lot of news came out. There's a bunch of Star Wars stuff coming out. Andor is just a couple weeks away. The Bad Batch season 2 got pushed back. Mandalorian, did get a trailer for Mandalorian season 3. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I've not had a chance to check that trailer out.
Yeah, it doesn't really show much, but you get a little bit of Din Djarin and
Sure.
and Grogu. Katie Sackhoff is in there, and he gets to Mandalore, so we're gonna get to see live action Mandalore. They did also announce that the actor that's gonna play Ezra Bridger in Ahsoka was announced. Not a huge. He only got a couple of things to his name, but he looks exactly like the character.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
He's got a small part in King Richard, and I can't think of it now what it was, but other than that, they announced we got a trailer for the National Treasure show, some other things, but really sorry. And apparently my omeprazole was not doing me justice today, so I apologize to everybody. But
and remember, here at Prevent of the Nerds, we make gastric distress funny.
Yes, we do. And that's what you get when you talk to a couple of middle-aged men in their 40s.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I will admit, one of us is a little further in our 40s than the other. So believe me, yes. So when I threw shade about Lipitor, yeah, okay, you may have the gray hair, but I know I'm the older of us, sir. Because again, here at Prevent of the Nerds, black don't crack.
Ooh.
Did you like that, sir?
I do like that.
Did you like that, sir?
Yes. That's a perfect lead into one trailer. The Secret Invasion. I don't know how that's a lead in, but yay,
well, it's got Samuel Jackson, who's also black.
Right.
We're good. By the way, okay, hang on. Test time out. Let's draw this too. This goes back to my earlier point. I don't need to belabor it, but this shows that we are very selective. Okay, so there are people who are losing their minds over the casting of Ariel. We have people that losing their mind over again the Harefoots, Lord Corliss, and that whole family, Megan the Stallion, all that. Two quick examples that people kind of, and I remember when Will Smith was cast as James West when they redid Wild Wild West. No one complained. Again, I've brought this up on the podcast before. No one complained when we shifted from the blonde, nerdy, that should have been played by Zac Efron version of Aquaman to my twin brother, Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
And do you remember hearing anyone complain about Samuel Jackson's casting as Nick Fury?
I don't know. No, I don't.
Historically, now I know the comics have kind of updated.
Yeah.
Where Nick Fury looks like Samuel Jackson.
He was based on Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, when I was growing up, and again, this is a movie that was made.
David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff.
The Hoff.
Yes, the Hoff. So believe me, historically, and you don't got to look hard because there's this thing called the internet.
Yeah.
If you look up the old school version, meaning like the late 90s or early 2000s version of Nick Fury was a white cat. Okay. And again, played by David Hasselhoff, who looks a lot like that version. If you don't know who David Hasselhoff is, this is the wrong podcast for you. Okay. Right. If you don't get David Hasselhoff and Knight Rider and how awfully absurd that show was, The Night Industries 2000. This is not the podcast for you. Okay. Right. But with it, and of course, hang on, let me try my best slow motion Baywatch run.
If I could remember the theme music, I would start humming it, but you are knocking this out of the park, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get the moves to run in perfect syncing. It's not happening. Okay.
I'm picturing Nicole Eggart right now.
The right answer. It
Yeah.
was never Pamela
It
Anderson.
wasn't.
It was always Nicole Eggert.
I mean,
Yes.
ever since Charles in Charge, man.
Yes. Yes, by the way, Scott Bale said by the way, if you, again, this is, keep this kid friendly, check out Josie Davis from that show. And, there is such a thing as a late bloomer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. That being said, back to my original point, which
Yeah.
is no one was up, and I'm by saying no one, I mean at least loud vocal voices.
Mhm.
For the most part, people supported Samuel Jackson taking over for Nick Fury. Again, most people really preferred Jason Momoa's portrayal versus the old school Aquaman, right?
Yep.
But then those same ilk, so the idea of this is inauthentic, this is
Mhm.
going away from our exposure, this isn't how the characters are really drawn up. If we want someone that we generally think is cool, so most people would say that, and hey, David Hasselhoff, if you can hear this and you're in some German nightclub singing your hits, feel free. We gladly invite you on the podcast, sir.
Absolutely. Bring it.
But
Yeah.
but there is at least and you could say we're just wrong. But most
Right.
people would say that Samuel Jackson carries a bigger cool factor than David Hasselhoff. So no one had an issue with that.
Mhm.
Most people would go, they'd rather see Jason Momoa wet than the old school Aquaman. I had many a character, and most of us said Aquaman the lamest member of the Justice League. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need a fjord? How do you do anything? Okay.
Okay, so just
Sure.
the only version of blonde Aquaman that is acceptable is from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, where he's got a mullet and a freaking hook for a hand.
Yes.
That is the only
Yes.
freaking version that is
Yes.
allowed.
Yes.
Other than that, go away. Go away. Like I mean, we did. I think I did like 100 episodes of Nerd Church Radio, and I
Okay.
hated on every freaking Aquaman comic that I
Yes.
possibly could.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is this is before the Aquaman movie came out.
Right.
Jason Momoa is Aquaman. That is the way it
Yes.
should be.
Yes.
So and Namor, I think will be good as well.
So the reason I've drawn all this stuff is we are very selective in the things that outrage us.
Mhm.
So if you're going to say, let's stick with the canon, by the way, if you stick with the canon, then Ariel in Little Mermaid should have green seafoam skin, has no soul, and is trying to kill Prince Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to stick to the source material. And again, since we weren't dragging David Hasselhoff in to do the Marvel Studios deal, which we are all glad that they picked Samuel. Again, you're the patron saint of Revenge of the Nerds. That's what I'm saying, that when people say this, their issue isn't with fictional Black people, it's with real Black people, because it's only in those times that you go, well, we wanted this space where we didn't have to admit that these groups of people were there. That's when the outrage comes. So if you're not going to ask, so if you saw any of the Marvel movies over the past 10 plus years and dug Samuel Jackson, stop it. If you like seeing Jason Momoa walking out of the ocean, stop it. Okay, so that's my whole point in bringing that up. So I know this is normally a very light podcast, but come on, folks.
I'm not getting the whole. Leia, have you seen the trailer for the Little Mermaid, the live action Little Mermaid? No. You should check it out.
Yeah, Halle Bailey, which I think would do a great job as Ariel.
I
Absolutely.
mean, so all we know of that is that she can sing, and this is based on a Disney musical that she
Yes.
sings.
Yes.
So far, I don't know what the problem is. You want to say hi? You can say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Princess.
All right, kiddo. We'll be done in a few minutes. Okay. All right. Can you go put that in the thing upstairs? Thank you, baby girl.
By the way, if you're gonna do, if the fact that you had a think of things that are unrealistic, you had a Jamaican crab.
I mean, seasoning maybe, but yeah.
In fact, you had a Jamaican crab. You never saw Sebastian roll one up.
Right.
All right. So yeah,
And
whatever.
maybe they fix that in the live action movie. We can hope.
You know what? Fine. If they really want to stay true to the source material in the new live action Little Mermaid, I want the castle to look the exact same way.
Right.
Don't change anything. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just check it out. Make the castle look the exact same way, and we'll talk about your wholesomeness when it talks about the Little Mermaid.
And I mean, I would be remiss to not bring up the seashells. I mean,
Yeah.
Sally
Yeah.
sold seashells by the
seashore. Yes.
I mean, but yeah, I don't know, man. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in a small town,
Sure.
and I went in the military right after high school, and
Right.
like all my friends were either Asian or African American,
Yep.
and I was they all made fun of me because I listened to 80s hair metal, and guess what? We still get along. I mean, I don't know,
Absolutely.
whatever.
And similarly, when I grew up, when I remember when Walk This Way came out, I was like, who are those white guys that run DMC? And it was, but then I've been, and then I realized the Aerosmith is still one of my favorite bands now.
Yeah.
So, and again, we get together every week and do a podcast. We talk about and for all this, and we try and sometimes give, we this is meant to be fun. And again, we're free. But we try and give respect and reverence to the shows that we like, and we try and talk about things, with this. But the reason that we enjoy these things, because there is some level of escapism, there is some level of let's talk about this. But we talk about the Orville, which talked about really strong subject matter like suicide. And transgender, and did it in a great way to open up dialogue. If you there's tons of, when you look at, you could talk about Multiverse of Madness and look at in all the different lenses that you could look at with Wanda Maximoff and grief and struggle and trauma and all those things. You have a great things that are in the MCU, the DCU, on Amazon, on Paramount, all those things. If it's still bugging you that in with all the stuff is quote unquote made up, and it still bothers you that there's that. And by the way, these in each one of these examples, whether it's Ring of Power, House of Dragon, or She-Hulk, those are the ones we've heard in the last couple of weeks. All these examples are still the minority of characters. The vast minority of characters. I think we look at people of color in Rings of Power. I think it's 5 by my rough count.
Yeah.
We look at it in House of Dragon, it's one family. And in She-Hulk, you had a topical reference. And the last thing I'll say about it, because I saw this on TikTok, and this is a great point. Because people were outraged that we saw She-Hulk twerking. If you watch the intro to Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds puts on stiletto heels, works on a stripper pole, and twerks. And no one's face melted off. So right there, okay. So if it's okay for Deadpool to do it, it's okay for She-Hulk to do it.
It's all entertainment. Hey, Eduardo, how are you doing, buddy? Oh man, yeah, and we like to keep it fun, but you know what? Sometimes we have to get serious. Maybe we're the example. I don't know. We like to have a good time and have fun, and you know what? If you don't like it, move on.
Because here at Prevent the Nerds, we believe that we all should get along, unless you're a fan of Jar Jar Binks.
Correct, and then it depends on what fan. Because I'm for Darth Jar Jar, but
I want Darth Jar Jar so bad.
If you want to come on to the show, we can discuss this. We can definitely discuss.
Yeah, we can discuss anything you want to. Come make your pitch why Darth Jar Jar or Reggae Darth Jar Jar or all these things. Again, and I doubt our listening audience is probably I don't know, we'll get this. But again, if you, and I'll be the first to say, if you disagree with what I said, because I speak for myself, I'm not putting Brad in this. But if you disagree with anything I've said, please come on. debate me. I said what I said. We can have a great conversation. And at the end of the day, you know what? We're all just nerds trying to enjoy this wonderful nerdverse.
And that's and that for myself, I go by who can I get along with. There are jerks and pardon my French, but assholes of
Yes.
every race, every whatever. Treat people good. Just what, we end every episode on a positive
Absolutely.
motivation note for a reason, because it makes me feel better, and if somebody needs to hear that stuff, we're nerds, and you know what, I love that. So
we're all in this together. We're all in here to level up our awesome. So again, feel free to enjoy, agree, disagree, and this is an open forum for anyone that wants to come on. Do what you do. However, if you lose your argument with Brian, you will be sentenced to Mordor.
Yes, you will, and definitely, whether you like it or not, I do have a book on sale on Amazon, Leveling My Awesome, which maybe you may need to read just to get to our level.
And
$7.99.
I think Shay's plug number 3.
Three, yeah.
Yes, you could. I think you gave us 4 last recording, so we still got a couple minutes. So feel free just to jump it in one more time.
You know what? No, I think I'll leave it at 3. But actually, you know what? I think there will be one more time. So, Brian, where can we find you, sir?
All right. So again, if you disagree with anything that I've said, come fight me, because you can find me on Facebook at Brian Stephen Dennis. Again, give me a like, a follow, a friend request. Try and keep things light and interesting. And again, you will find way too many posts regarding Winnie the Pooh. So feel free to find me on Facebook, Brian Stephen Dennis.
And that will be a tag team match, and I will be his partner.
Yes, sir.
Right. If you can tweet at me at the Fandemic3, message me on Facebook at the Fandemic, also active on TikTok, although I haven't been very good at it lately, at Fandemic1, hear my reviews, and so much more. If you want to support the show, there are several ways to do so. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thefandemic. You can also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/PVOTN Fandemic. You can become an episode assistant, episode producer, pre-venge producer, or become part of the con. Yes, the Council of Nerds, starting at $5 a month.
There it is.
You can become a monthly supporter like Stacy the Awesome did at anchor.fm/PVOTN. You can go straight to PayPal or Venmo at Bradley Butin, or just share the show with someone you want to make a little more awesome. You can also buy my book, Leveling Up My Awesome, on sale at Amazon, or you can contact me directly for an autographed copy. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and I think that's about it. Brian, I think we hit max awesome levels of awesome for the week. I do want to thank everybody who talked to us throughout the comments. Looks like we had a couple of people. So how do we end every episode, sir?
Well, as always, thank you for leveling up your awesome with myself and my tag team partner, Bradley. Please continue to listen to our show. We love hearing the comments and the feedback. And remember, no retreat, no surrender. And Goonies, never say die.
All right. Now, we're all playing the same game in life, just on a different level. Thanks for catching up. You're welcome for leveling up your awesome. Also a book on sale on Amazon. Live free or die empty. Have a great day. I did it. I hit 4 or 5, right?
You hit 4 or 5. You are good, sir.
All right. And just because I can't get through an episode without throwing out Leia's a theme for us, let me pull that up and we will leave it that way. There you are.
The mic drop of mic drop, sir.
Yes. We can actually talk through this one.
Get your earphones in, everybody, and everybody hear us out. We are Brad Butin and Brian Dennis, and this is PVOTN. We've got my dad leveling up dropping knowledge of TV, movies, and comics. We've got Brian Dennis flexing his nerd muscles. How you level up your awesomeness? He will solve the puzzle. Just when you thought you've heard it all, a new episode will come along. Won't you like, subscribe, and rate our show? One last thing. Leave a 5-star review before you go. Oh yeah!